All right, then we have a quorum, we'll have a call to order. We'll start with the, we have a quorum for today's board of elections meeting, and we'll have the call to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the first item we have on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from when our board last met on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. They were provided to us in advance, and we've had an opportunity to review them. So unless anyone besides yours truly, who corrected the spelling of his first name, has any other changes or additions to make, we'll entertain a motion to approve. Moved by Judge Barrasse, second by Judge Moyle. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then the minutes are approved. Next on the agenda is an opportunity for the public to address the board on the agenda items only, and the sole agenda item that we have today is the motion that had been presented to consider the petition for a manual recount or recanvass of the votes for the office of supervisor in the township of Jefferson. Does anyone wish to publicly comment on that agenda item? No one has indicated. Okay. Then next, our next item of business has been identified as Motion 23-2011, which is the petition that has been presented by Jason Hollister, who is a write-in candidate for supervisor for Jefferson Township on the Democratic ticket. And the petition has been supported by affidavits of three qualified electors: Allison McHale, M-C-H-A-L-E, Lisa Guthrie, and Jamie, J-A-I-M-E, Sheehan, S-H-E-E-H-A-N. Does anyone wish to address the board on that matter?
Your Honor, as a preliminary matter, on behalf of the Election Bureau, we have a copy of the ballots in question for the three of you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
And then Attorney Hughes is here representing the petitioner, so
Mr. Hughes, do you wish to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a silly question, right? I'm glad you asked it.
Well, I think it's better me than Bill Jones. He's over in Italy, so I'm in his place. But I don't think Bill would pay for the telephone call to be here today. I'd like to call Jason Hollister, please.
No, it's not a trial.
Yeah, we don't transcribe it.
yeah, it's not. This isn't a hearing. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted me to ask questions on that, Your Honor. But I do need to get into the record the fact that the three affidavits that were signed by Democratic voters in support of the application.
Okay, is there any dispute as to that fact?
No.
It appears to be as such, and I believe we could probably
Stipulate.
take that by way of a
They're all
stipulation.
They're all registered Democrats who verified that.
Okay.
As such, we'll take judicial notice.
Okay, then we'll take judicial notice of that. And my understanding, just so I understand correctly, Mr. Hughes, is that the issue that needs to be addressed is that there were some ballots in which the petitioner's name, Jason Hollister, was written in, but the oval next to his name was not filled. Correct?
Yes, Your Honor, correct. There were 9 of those, and there was one ballot for Mr. Kotoba, who was also a write-in. And he also had 47 votes, but he had where it was blackened in, as did Mr. Hollister. There were 10 write-ins that the circle was not blackened in, 9 for Mr. Hollister and 1 for Mr. Kotoba. And we seek to have them counted and have those votes certified. There is a case on point, I'm sure your honors are aware of. That would be Rinaldi versus Farrett.
Yes. 9:41 and seconds.
Yes, I have a copy of it, your honor.
Okay. Thank you.
And this is Judge Menore's opinion.
Okay.
Went up to the Commonwealth Court and they reversed it on procedure, and Judge Menore held that the write-in ballots, even though they did not have the circle blackened, could be counted. I believe there were like 133 of them during that.
111.
Pardon?
111.
Okay, 111. And on page 9 of the opinion that I gave you, the Commonwealth Court, even though they had reversed because Mr. Rinaldi didn't properly have his petition presented, they ruled that they ruled on the issue itself that said if this case came before us, we would definitely vote, as long as there's no fraud, that the write-in ballot that does not have the circle blackened will be counted. That is not dicta. That, in my opinion, is an order from the Commonwealth Court. So what we would seek in this case, applying the Rinaldi decision, would be that the 10 ballots be counted, and that Mr. Hollister received 9, and that Mr. Courthouse received 1, and that would bring the total up to 56 for Mr. Hollister and 48 for Mr. Cordova, and that the election be certified that Mr. Hollister was the winner of the Democratic write-in in Jefferson Township Board of Supervisors.
Okay, and for purposes of the record, I do have the Commonwealth Court opinion, the published version from the Atlantic Second Reporter before me. It was heard by President Judge Ledbetter and Judges Friedman and McCloskey. As counsel indicated, Judge Menore had directed that write-in votes in which the candidate's name was written but the oval had not been blackened should have been counted. The matter was appealed on procedural grounds and substantive grounds. The procedural grounds being that the petition, just like the petition in this instance, needed to be supported by at least 3 voters who verified by affidavit that there was some error in the computation, and at least in the Rinaldi case, the petition was accompanied by unnotarized verifications only by the candidate himself and one other person, so the Commonwealth Court held that it was fatally flawed in that regard and did not satisfy the procedural requirements, and so therefore the court was without a jurisdiction to entertain the petition. To address Mr. Hughes's comment about the further rationale in the opinion not being mere dicta, they did note at the very outset of the opinion that they were addressing the second issue, the substantive issue, in anticipation of possible further appeal, and did say that Judge Menore had appropriately relied upon the rationale in the Schambach, S-H-A-M-B-A-C-H, decision of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, and they concluded their opinion by saying, quote, in the present case, comma, where the voter intent is clear and there is no sign of fraud, comma, we conclude that, comma, absent an express statutory prohibition, comma, the rationale favoring liberal construction will allow counting of the ballots despite the lack of a fully blackened oval period. Therefore, comma, had we reached the merits, comma, we would have affirmed, period, close quote. So I agree with Mr. Hughes that they did indicate on the merits that a write-in, unless there is some sign of fraud or some other express statutory prohibition, and I don't see either of those circumstances in play presently, that the votes should be counted because they reflected the voters' intent, notwithstanding the failure to fill in the blanket. So
There is no objection There's no opposition in regard to the motion, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, and the Bureau doesn't find anything in regard to the factual basis that's been presented as being false, correct?
Correct.
No signs of fraud and no other express statutory prohibition, other than I realize not following the instructions on the form.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Your Honor, of course, the Election Bureau takes no position on this because we're a neutral agency just to run the election. Just for explanation, the reason we do not count the write-ins that are not blackened in is that's the guidance we received from the Department of State in Harrisburg. And, as you indicated on the ballot itself, it says to write in somebody, you need to blacken the oval and write the name. So that's the reason we don't, as of course, do it. But
Yeah, I wasn't asking for your position, not as much as, are those facts correct in regard to what you?
those facts are correct.
Okay,
That is the issue.
thank you.
All right. Anything further then, either from Mr. Hughes or on behalf of the Bureau?
Is Mr. Loma just attending, or is he,
I'm supporting this Attorney Frederickson, Your Honor.
Okay.
He's my backup.
He's the boss.
Judge Nealon, I just want to make note, there's 16 of those votes that I have given you certified copies of. 9 of them are for Mr. Hollister. 1 is for Mr. Katarba, who were in a tie for the write-in votes of 47 each. And then there's other candidates that each had 1, but just to make note, there's 16 of them.
Total.
Okay. in
No,
total.
I did see those.
Okay.
There are other ones
Various names.
that are.
Not, they're scattered, but for the record, they also received write-ins where the oval wasn't record. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Then, based upon that, I don't know if any other members of the board wish to make a motion.
Motion that the write-ins count and that the is therefore be declared as the winner of the write-ins.
I'll second.
Okay. Second by Judge Moyle. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Then the motion has been granted and the votes will be counted and he will be certified as the winner of that particular write-in election. The final agenda item is opportunity for the public to address the board on any other matters, and I don't see any other members of the public present. Is there any other business to come before the board? I know we have a meeting next week then to
Correct.
certify the results of the election.
Yeah, 1:30 on Monday, that'll be the certified. We'll count these votes, we'll come up with the final numbers, and then we'll be presenting that to the board on Monday at 1:30.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.